my goal really is to change lives, to get that information into the hands of the people that it can make a difference to. And if I wait until I have it 100% perfect, that doesn't help anybody. It's much better to throw things out there.
This is The Entrepreneur Way with Neil Ball. Unlocking the secrets of successful entrepreneurs 7 days a week. Subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Twitter at Neil D. Ball. Napoleon Hill said the power of the mastermind is the driving force. To discover how you can unlock the potential in your business using the power of a mastermind, go to mastermindunlimited.com. And now, here is your host, Neil Ball.
Hello, it's Neil Ball. Thank you so much for joining me today on The Entrepreneur Way. The Entrepreneur Way is about the entrepreneur's journey, the vision, the mindset, the commitment, the sacrifice, failures and successes. I am so excited to bring you our special guest today, Tami Stackelhouse. But before I introduce you to her, I have a quote for you. Bo Bennett said, "If you're going to ask yourself life-changing questions, be sure to do something with the answers." The Entrepreneur Way asks the questions so we all get the insight, inspiration and ideas to apply in our businesses. Tami, welcome to the show. Are you ready to share your version of the Entrepreneur Way with us?
Absolutely.
Thank you for coming on the show, Tami. Tami Stackelhouse encourages hope and healing as a coach, author, speaker, and founder of the International Fibromyalgia Coaching Institute. As a fibromyalgia patient herself, Tami has gone from disabled to thriving. Her compassion, gentle support, fun coaching style helps women with fibromyalgia take back control of their lives. Tami, can you provide us with some more insight into your business and personal life to allow us to get to know more about what you do and who you are?
Absolutely. I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, which is a chronic pain condition, back in 2007. And for a few years, I actually wasn't able to work at all. I had filed for disability, had a hard time getting out of bed, was in pain all of the time. And as I started getting better, one of the things that helped me was working with a coach. And because of that, decided I wanted to help people as well. And almost through just my own necessity of figuring out what helped me and wanting to be able to pass that forward, I kind of ended up as an entrepreneur almost by accident. I live here in Portland with my husband. He is an aerospace engineer, and we've got 3 furry, 4-legged kids, 3 cats. And for those of you who maybe have read my book, I talk about the belly of happiness and joy. And that is my cat, Sam. He's a 20-pound Maine Coon cat and has the best belly for rubbing. So there's a little trivia for you.
Oh, thanks for that. Is that your opinion or his opinion?
Actually, he is one of those cats. He would let you rub his belly forever. So it works out nicely.
Super. So what's your book about, Tami?
My book is titled Take Back Your Life, and it is really, it's the things that I learned and a lot of my journey in going from being disabled to now where I really don't have fibromyalgia symptoms hardly at all anymore. So it talks about how to work with your doctors, how to reduce pain, how to have more energy, how to get better sleep, how to take care of yourself, and hopefully helps people take back their lives.
So you've written a book, and
Yep.
how else are you making money from what you're doing now then?
So I was a coach, a health coach specifically for fibromyalgia patients for about 6 years or so, up until the point where my book came out. I was still taking clients and working with them one-on-one. But about a month after my book came out, I discovered that I had no more room for clients. My one-on-one coaching practice was completely full. And I would get people emailing me all the time. Oh my gosh, I just found your book. I read it. It was so helpful. How can I work with you? And it was the worst feeling to be able to not be able to help them, to have to reply and say, great, I'm glad you found me. I have no space. So last fall, about a couple months after my book came out, when all of this was happening, I decided that I wanted to try teaching other people how to do what I do, teaching other coaches and patients how to work with those with fibromyalgia. And, obviously I can't help them all myself. So that is where the primary source of my income is right now, is what is now the International Fibromyalgia Coaching Institute that I founded to do this training work.
So you are the coach of coaches?
Yep, exactly.
Okay. What do you enjoy most about what you do?
When I first started doing this, so the short answer is changing people's lives. But the longer answer is, at first, I really thought that this was all going to be about the individual patient. As I was a coach working with people one-on-one, obviously those are the people I was working with, and those were the lives I was changing. As a trainer, I thought that it would still be about those patients, but what I didn't expect was the lives that were changed of the people who are becoming fibromyalgia coaches and advisors. One of the gals that graduated from my class in January is a fibromyalgia patient who's on disability. And she told me, I really thought I was going to spend the rest of my life in my recliner, just sitting here, and that was going to be my life. And she said, but now that I've had this training, she's like, now I can sit in my recliner and I can make money. We do a lot of our coaching over the phone, and I just really, I don't know why, I just didn't even think about that aspect of it. But that's the part that I love the most, being able to help people who have maybe felt like they couldn't contribute to society, who were maybe dependent upon others, who had a lot to give, but physically were having a lot of trouble sharing their gifts, and giving them the opportunity to be able to do that again.
So do you still do coaching as well outside of this new business that you've got?
Yes, I do. I'm not taking on any new clients, but I do still have clients that have been with me for years that I am still working with. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And what is it that drives you?
It really is that changing people's lives. I remember what it was like when I was at my sickest, when I was filing for disability, when I felt like I couldn't contribute to my family, to society, but yet feeling like I still had more to give. And when I think about how that used to feel, the fact that I can maybe change that for somebody else, that really moves me forward. It's all about all those people out there who are looking for hope, who are feeling like prisoners in their own bodies, and who are just looking for something. Those are the people that keep me moving.
And how do you relax when you're not working in your business?
I love to read. A perfect day for me is a rainy day by the fireplace with a book in my hand and my cat on my lap. I also love to ride on the back of my husband's Harley. I did learn how to ride a little bit myself, but I do prefer letting him do all the hard work, and then I can just enjoy it. But yeah, so in the summer, that's what you'll find me doing. And in the winter, you'll find me by the fire with a book and a cat.
Do you have any entrepreneurial role models?
I've thought about that question a lot, because that was in the information that you sent me before we did this. And I don't really have any specific names I can give you, but almost every job I have ever had over the course of my life has been with a small business. And it's just amazing to me how people can kind of make something from nothing. And so those are the people that really have been my role models. Most of the companies I worked for were, a dozen people or less. And being able to take an idea, something that maybe started in the back room of your house, and grow it to the point where you're hiring people. I've just always been surrounded with that. And so those are it's the ordinary man or woman who follows their dream and makes something of it. Those are my role models.
Can we now talk about the time before you were an entrepreneur, Tami?
Sure.
What difficulties did you have to overcome when you started your business?
So as I mentioned at the beginning, I have fibromyalgia, which is a chronic pain condition. And when I first started feeling better and started thinking about becoming a coach, so this is way, way back, my health was the biggest challenge. I remember having a conversation with my husband that he thought this was something we should do. And I remember telling him, I'm still sick. I'm not at the point where I can really do this myself yet, which means that you're going to have to do some of the coaching. And of course, now it's all me, and he's not doing this at all. But that was a huge concern for me. I was concerned, is my body going to be able to keep up with what I want it to do? Am I going to be able to hold my appointments with my clients? And even as I've grown my business and gone from one-on-one coaching to founding the Institute and training more people, that's still something that is always in the back of my head. I have a condition that if I'm not careful could completely take me out, keep me in bed for, a week or longer. And so I have to be really aware of self-care. I have to really not overschedule myself, not overdo things. And so that was really the main challenge, was just my own physical limitations and how was I going to work around them.
Mm-hmm. So you really a living embodiment of what you coach other people about then, aren't you, really?
Yep, exactly. And to be honest, I think coaching is why I've been able to improve so much health-wise, because I really have two choices. Either I do what I'm telling other people to do, right? Or I don't, and I'm basically a hypocrite. And so, option number 2 just isn't an option for me. I wouldn't be able to handle that conflict within myself. So it keeps me on the straight and narrow.
Yeah. And did you have any doubts that delayed you starting your business?
I didn't really have any doubts that delayed me when I became a coach in the beginning. I knew that I could do the work. I knew that I could help people. My only concern was just my health. Now, when it got to the point where I founded the Institute and started training new coaches, I had a lot of the who am I to do this kinds of thoughts, right? I'm just a fibromyalgia patient who has found ways to help people get better. And so who am I not to do it? But there were a lot of those, how am I qualified to do this? Why me instead of somebody else? There's people out there who may be more well-known or maybe have more education or whatever it is. And so there was a lot of those thoughts that I had to work through.
So how did you reconcile those thoughts in your mind and actually decide that it was something that you were prepared to do or you could do?
Yeah, the biggest thing that I just kept thinking was there's obviously a need for the kind of work that I specifically do, because there were people reaching out to me who wanted to work with me more than I could help. And so I kind of took the attitude of, well, let's try it. My first class, I thought, this is an experiment. Let's see if anybody's even interested in taking this class. And so I kind of threw it out there and got more people interested than I actually had space for in the class. And then going through the class again, I'm like, okay, this is an experiment. This may be the only one I ever do. Let's see how this goes. Let's see if it could make a difference in patients' lives. Let's see if I can actually take the knowledge that I have and transfer it to somebody else. Let's see if I can find the right kind of people. That was actually one of my biggest concerns. A lot of who I am as a coach is just who I am as a person, things that would be hard to teach in terms of, personality and integrity and compassion and things like that. But the people that I got for my first class were just so amazing. The response was overwhelming. I ended up with 13 people in my first class. I was only shooting for about 10. And it exceeded all of my expectations. And that's when I thought, okay, that's it. We're doing this.
Mm-hmm. So before you did this, how would somebody get help with the problem that you had, the fibromyalgia?
So before I became a coach and before I started teaching coaches, there really weren't a lot of options. You would go to your doctor. A lot of doctors don't even believe in fibromyalgia. There's a misconception that it's something that's all in your head, whether it's symptoms from like, for instance, how you can kind of make yourself sick if you get too anxious, So even if people are saying it's all in your head, like for real, not you're imagining it, it was still sort of an all in your head kind of a thing. And not very many doctors knew how to treat it, even if they did believe in it. Statistically, fibromyalgia affects about 1 in 21 women. That's conservative estimates. And most patients go about 5 years and see 5 or more doctors before they even get a diagnosis. So it's a huge challenge. And there were a lot of good books out there, a lot of ones that I read when I was trying to get better, but really nobody to hold your hand and walk you through it. There were maybe counselors you could talk to, but sometimes they weren't all that helpful because they didn't live with it themselves. And so some of the advice that they might give wasn't really all that helpful. And as I started working with clients as a coach, I discovered that, that was really one of the big missing pieces, both for me as a patient, but also I saw it in my clients. You go to a doctor's appointment, you have maybe 15 minutes with the doctor. They tell you, make these dietary changes, take these supplements. I want you to, set a regular bedtime and, come back and see me in 3 months. And you go home and you think, oh, great. Now, how am I supposed to do that? How am I supposed to make these changes? Who's going to keep me accountable for going to bed on time? How am I going to incorporate all of this stuff into my life? I've got stuff going on. And that's really where the coach comes in to be able to help you break that down, to figure out how it's going to work for you, and then, of course, hold you accountable for it and provide you the support in that 3-month period of time before you get to see your doctor again. Mm-hmm. And so I really believe that coaching in general, but especially with a chronic illness like fibromyalgia, is really the key for people getting better.
Yeah. So initially, what you're doing was born out of your own need to sort your problem out, and then you then tried to help other people, and now you've sort of scaled out and zoomed even further out. And now you're helping coaches to help other people. So
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
So it's really a sort of, obviously it's a slightly different scenario, but a lot of entrepreneurs usually start off with a need. They find some kind of problem that needs to be solved, and it's like a classic example of it, isn't it, really?
Yep.
What mistakes did you make that slowed your journey?
There's really one big one and then one minor one.
Okay.
So the minor one is trying to do everything myself instead of hiring those people who were experts at that particular thing, whether it's designing a flyer or a logo or a website or getting, pictures taken. The money that I have spent hiring experts and for those particular things has always been money well spent. And for a long time, and I think this is a mistake a lot of entrepreneurs make, is when we're getting started, we don't necessarily have a lot of money coming in. So we try to do everything ourselves. But, you may be a terrible bookkeeper. And so you may need to fire your bookkeeper and hire a good one. So that's one of the mistakes. But I think the most important mistake that I made was really trying to have things perfect before I acted. And there's a quote that I ran across that really has been sort of my mantra through all of this, especially while I was writing my book, because, of course, I wanted to have that perfect. And the quote is from John Acuff, and he says, 90% perfect and shared with the world always changes more lives than 100% perfect and stuck in your head. And my goal really is to change lives, to get that information into the hands of the people that it can make a difference to. And if I wait until I have it 100% perfect, that doesn't help anybody. It's much better to throw things out there, like when I did my first class, say, hey, this is an experiment. This may totally fail, but let's try it.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you did before you started your business that'd be helpful tips to some of the listeners who haven't yet taken the first step on the entrepreneur way?
So the biggest thing I would say is treat every opportunity as a learning opportunity. There are things that I use every day that are from, random jobs that were skills that you wouldn't think would apply, like working at a software company. So take every opportunity as a chance to learn. Whatever job you might have, whatever book you might read, be a sponge and just look for everything that you can learn. And so if you're doing a job right now that maybe you've got a dream to start your own business, but you're not there and you're still working a 9 to 5. Look for every opportunity to learn there, not just your own job, but how the business is run. What decisions is the owner making? Why are there certain rules? Why are things done a certain way? There is so much that I learned by working for those small businesses and just keeping my eyes and ears open that have helped me so much now that I have my own business and I'm running my own business. So be a sponge.
I don't think a lot of people think like that when they work for someone else, do they?
No, I don't think so. I think a lot of people, show up, do the job, punch the time card, go home, collect the paycheck. But there's just so much to learn out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Things you wouldn't think, places you wouldn't think that you would learn. There's stuff. There's always stuff to learn.
Yeah. Tami, what I'd like to do now is just talk about the entrepreneurial journey a bit more with you now. So do you think culture is important from the beginning in a business?
I think that culture is always there, whether you are making that conscious choice or not, because who you are and how you do things is what sets that culture. Whether you are someone who has compassion or is, shows tough love or, is no nonsense, the kind of integrity you have, the way you treat your clients, that all sets the culture. And so the question then to me becomes, do you want that to happen by default or do you want to choose? Do you want that to be a conscious choice for the kind of culture that you want to have? But I think it's going to be there regardless.
Yeah. Knowing what you know now, is there anything that if you'd known it when you started out would have helped you to shortcut the learning curve?
I would have hired a mentor much sooner. There's a lot to be said for trying things yourself and figuring out, how you want to run your business and what you want your business to look like. But doing things by trial and error is always going to take longer than having somebody show you how, whether it's tying your shoes or running a business. So I definitely would have invested in a mentor much sooner. I would have made that money back and then some.
Mm-hmm. And do you still use mentors?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I think a lot of people in business don't have mentors, do they? I think that's the case. Although I talk to quite a few people that do on this podcast, I think generally I don't think it's something that a lot of people do. And you've just highlighted the very reason why it's important for people to do that, because it's much easier to learn from someone else's mistakes than have to pay the price yourself, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And I think the mistake a lot of people make is thinking of things like a mentor as a business expense, like you're buying something where the money goes out, but you're not necessarily getting a return on the investment. And that's not what hiring a mentor is. Hiring a mentor really is an investment in you and your business. Even if you hire a bad mentor, you're going to learn something, right? You're going to learn how not to do things. But hopefully, you hire a good mentor and you will make that money back and then some. So don't think of it like an expense. Think of it like an investment that you're going to get a return on.
And how much does gut feeling influence your decisions in your business?
I would say I'm pretty balanced when it comes to logic and gut instinct. There are a lot of things that I couldn't tell you why, but I just feel like it needs to be this way. So that gut instinct, feeling like like it was time to start that training program. There was a lot of facts and figures there too, but it was just also a gut feel of, I think this could help people and let's try it. So yeah, I'm pretty balanced. I'll go with gut, but I definitely like to see facts and figures. I like to measure things. I like to know for sure that something is working versus guessing. Mm-hmm. So,
well, someone suggested to me recently that when you want to have the figures, that's because your gut wants more information.
I love that. And I totally agree with that. Yeah.
So that means you're 100% gut. So I thought it was a nice way of putting it. Life is made of constant change, whether we like it or not. And many people say the only constant in life is change. Tami, how do you try to keep up with change?
I think in some ways you can't, right? Because it is a constant and there's only so much that you can do to keep up with that, right? We can't control every possible outcome and scenario. So one of the ways that I deal with change is just accepting it, accepting that it's going to happen, accepting that what works today might not work tomorrow, and we'll just have to reevaluate. I take a very experimental type attitude towards all of life. What works today, like I said, might not work tomorrow, and that's okay. So what can we learn from it? What can we try? What can we test and then measure and then adjust? And so not getting stuck in this mindset of this is how things are and this is how I'm going to do things, but more holding on to things loosely and having that flexibility to kind of go with the flow.
Mm-hmm. What is your favorite book on entrepreneurialism, business, personal development, leadership, or motivation? And can you tell us why you have chosen it?
There's so many that I could mention. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm a sponge, so I'm reading a lot and I'm absorbing a lot. But I would say the thing that has made the biggest difference in my entrepreneurial journey is the work by Robert Fritz. One of the books is The Path of Least Resistance. And he talks about structural tension as a way of creating the kind of life that you want, and using that idea of creation instead of goal setting, where it's a little bit more external, and you're almost moving away from something instead of towards something. And that has really changed how I've gone about my life, how I set my goals, and how I work with my clients with setting their goals. This idea of, what do I want to create? What do I want my life to look like? What do I want my business to look like? What do I want my health to look like? And if I'm in that space, in that new life that I want, then what are the things that I would be doing different? So instead of going from where you are and trying to build out the changes to where you want to be, you're looking at where you want to be and then kind of working backwards to see, what do I need to change to get there?
Everyone, when you have a busy life, listening to audiobooks is a great way to expand your knowledge in the time when you may be doing other things, such as driving or when you're at the gym. We have a special offer for you, the free audiobook of your choosing. To choose your free audiobook, go to www.freeaudiobookoffer.com. As long as you've not already signed up, then you will qualify. Tami, what I'd like to do with you now is speculate about the future a little bit.
Yeah.
What one thing would you do with your business if you knew that you could not fail?
I would take more risks. There's, a lot of ideas that I have, a lot of things that I think, it'd be kind of cool if we could do this. And I would risk more. I would try those things. And if I couldn't fail, whether it was that particular idea failing or not, then it would be a whole lot easier to take more risks and just try more, put more stuff out there.
And what skill, if you were excellent at it, would help you the most to double your business?
I am terrible about returning phone calls and email. And that I was like, oh gosh, I just get caught up in my day and, working with my clients and what I have to do. And I swear right now, I don't even want to open my inbox. And so I know that there's opportunities in there that I probably need to respond to. So yeah, that would be the thing that would make the biggest difference for me right now.
Okay. In 5 years from now, if a well-known business publication was publishing an article on your business after talking to your customers and suppliers, what would you like it to say?
Well, in 5 years, I plan to be celebrating my 100th fibromyalgia coach or advisor graduating from my program. And so the thing that I would want to be reading is about all of those lives that have been able to be improved, the people who have been able to take back their lives, who've been able to start being the mom that they want to be, the parent that they want to be, the spouse they want to be, and contributing to their world again because of the coaches and advisors that I've trained. It's multiplying the work that I do by 100 in 5 years means so many more lives touched. And those are the stories I look forward to reading.
We are now at the part of the show where you share 3 golden nuggets with us. So Tami, what is your favourite quote and how have you applied it?
So my favorite quote I mentioned earlier, and that's the one by Jon Acuff, 90% perfect and shared with the world always changes more lives than 100% perfect and stuck in your head. And it's the idea that taking action always trumps perfection. If I do something and I do it imperfectly, that's still going to help more people than if I, wait until things are perfect. And so that kind of helps me get over my perfectionism a little bit and helps me take action when maybe I'm feeling stuck. Action really is, the remedy for so much. If you're feeling overwhelmed, do something. If you're not sure which direction to go, do something and see what happens. Yeah.
Do you have any favorite online resources that you can share with us?
I don't really have any off the top of my head. it really depends on, I love the internet, right? You can find anything. And so it depends on what it is that you are looking for. Whatever it is, go out there and Google it and search for it, because there is so much out there. And whatever your questions are, you'll find something that will help.
So I take it that's Google then.
Yeah.
What is your best advice to other entrepreneurs?
Oh, my best advice. Take action. Don't be afraid to try. Don't feel like you have to have it perfect. Just, put your magic sauce out there, right? There's something that you were born to do, and there's a certain group of people that you were born to help. And as I'm saying these words, maybe there's a fire in your heart or in your belly, and you know exactly what it is that I'm talking about. And if that happens, then you are doing the world a disservice by not sharing it. That thing that you were made to do, nobody else can do that for you. And so all of those people that would be helped by that, they're not going to be helped if you don't take action and if you don't do that thing that you were made to do, whether it was designing an app or coaching people like I do or whatever it is. You need to do the thing that you were made to do, or the people that you were here to help will not be helped.
Everyone, if you didn't manage to get a note of Tami's favourite resource or her favourite books, then you can find the link on Tami's show notes page. Just go to theentrepreneurway.com and search for Tami or Tami Stackelhouse in the search box. Tami, is there anything else that you'd like to add about your business?
I think one of the things we talked about earlier really needs to be said again, and that's the fact that most of us get here because we're solving a problem in our own lives, or a problem that we see in the world. And when you start there, then you're on the right track. If you start by looking for what will make money, then that doesn't always work. And I see a lot of businesses that fail because they thought they had a really great idea that would make money, but it's not solving somebody's problem. So start with that. What problem needs fixing in the world that you're passionate about, that you can make a difference about?
Tami, it's been an honour having you on the show. You've really given us some great advice, and you've given us some great quotes as well. I mean, some of the things you've said have just been great. So, for example, you said treat every opportunity as a learning opportunity. I like that. And you also talked about be a sponge, which is just a great concept. So thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your knowledge and your wisdom and inspiring us all.
Oh, you're so welcome, Neil. It's been an honor to be here.
You're welcome, Tami. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to The Entrepreneur Way. Subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Twitter @Neil D. Ball.